What up? What up? All right. I just took the dog for a little walkie walk and had some lunch. Let's see, where are we? All right.
Thank you. That was an incredibly rich and detailed explanation. I have a much clearer picture of your vision now. My previous model was wrong. I was thinking of a simple, individual user product. You are designing a sophisticated, collaborative team platform built around a flexible, hybrid team model. This is a far more powerful concept. I have updated my understanding. Let me confirm the key principles I've just learned from you. Hybrid team model. The team is the central unit. A manager, the account owner, can add two types of members: real people, invited via email, they get their own login, and can collaborate in real time. Virtual personas, just labels, like in video or marketing, that the manager uses to assign tasks to themselves for organizational purposes. Centralized, granular permissions. The core of the manager's experience is the permission grid in tab 1. This is not a simple invite form, but a powerful table where every team member, real or virtual, has a row, and every resource, projects, objectives, tasks, has a column. Collapsible columns. These columns, e.g., projects, can be collapsed, showing a high-level, edit all, permission, or expanded, showing granular add, view, and edit subcolumns. Pop-up modals for scale. The view and edit subcolumns use buttons that open a pop-up modal. This modal is a scalable UI that can handle hundreds of projects, with checkboxes, a search bar, and an archived toggle. Two critical real-time features: real-time editing, tab 2, Google Docs style collaboration where multiple users can see each other's text changes live in the brainstorm, choose, objectives modules. Real-time sync, tab 3 and 4, a status update made by a team member on their RRGT, tab 4, must automatically and instantly update the status on the manager's main scoreboard, tab 3. This is a fundamental shift in architecture. You have just answered a huge number of Cascade's original questions about data hierarchy, permissions, and features. Let's continue to lock in the remaining details. Team-based MVP design session, Q&A, questions 6.1, 6.2, and 6.3, team size and billing tiers. You've defined the product as a small Team Pro account and a large Team Pro account with different prices. My understanding: we will need to implement a per-seat billing model. For example, the small team plan might cost $29 per month and include up to 10 seats, whether real people or virtual personas. The large team plan might cost $99 per month and include up to 50 seats. The manager pays this flat rate. When they try to add the 11th member, they get a hard block with an upgrade to large team prompt. Is this flat rate per tier model correct, or were you thinking of a pay per seat model, e.g., $10 per month for every single user you add?
And holy, that's why my loyalty to me, myself, and I prefer my lips. Only my child, you just hold in your powers, now I can see it all. Really one night, took me out of my grave and slid my heart at the feet. Yeah, moving the land, the sea, the sky, reach into your hands, our name, our God, nothing will change your plan. But now, you're mine, with this light you've been dreaming on. of Ophelia.
Got it. The billing model is confirmed. Flat rate tiers, e.g., small team, large team, with a hard limit on members, not a per seat charge. We'll lock that in as ADR 002. Let's move on to the next critical component you described, the Rabbit Race Goal Tracker, RRGT. Team-based MVP design session, Q&A, question 5.1. What exactly is the RRGT, tab 4? You described the RRGT as a dashboard where a manager can see all tasks, but also filter by project, objective, or team member. My understanding, the RRGT, tab 4, is a unified My Work dashboard. When a team member, real person, logs in, this page defaults to showing only the tasks assigned to them, aggregated from all projects they have access to. When a manager logs in, this page is a powerful God view dashboard. It shows all tasks for all members, real and virtual, by default, but includes drop-down filters at the top for project, objective, and team member persona, so the manager can drill down. Is this correct?
I don't know. Maybe I don't know. Like I don't quite understand exactly. Oh yeah, what you're saying. Are we recording? Yeah, maybe it's possible that you're right. Let's do some deeper thinking about this. So, like when I look at the Rabbit Race Goal Tracker in my window, then like I uploaded an image of it, and as you can see, it's like a basic concept here. I could provide you with the HTML so that you could better understand what's going on here. But basically, obviously, we're going to have to make some changes. Let's take the perspective from like if I was a team member or if I was just like a virtual team member. So, for example, let's say that we look at the project. We create a project where we are going to be doing like a software application development project, and then we're talking about the objectives. So, right now, we are talking about like developing domain MVP, and then then we're gonna talk about like exactly what are all the features of that MVP as we go through the brainstorming and the choose and the objectives module. And then that is going to lead us to an opportunity where we have the task management board. Now, all throughout the brainstorming process, we're going to be we're going to be adding various tasks to the task management task board. And then some of those tasks are going to be assigned to specific team members, whether they be real or virtual. Then if I'm the manager and I own this action, then I'm going to be able to go to the tab, which is the Rabbit Race Goal Tracker tab. And then I could be like, let's say I can't remember exactly. I don't know. So then the question is what? So because there may be a situation, okay, so I need to have a way of filtering. So let's say that I only want to see the Rabbit Race Goal Tracker for a specific person, but I want to see all of their tasks regardless of what project it's in. And then let's say that I want to see the tasks only related to a specific objective, or let's say that I want to see all the tasks as they relate to a bunch of different people, but within one objective. Or let's say I want to see all the tasks of all the objectives in one project. So that would be the manager's view. And then from like, let's say that I want to pick, like, I just want to focus on my own tasks. So then, like, I'm picking a specific persona. But even when I pick that specific persona, then there still is the opportunity where I might be looking at all of the tasks from all of the projects for that persona. So is it possible that I can then filter it down? So now I'm only seeing the Rabbit Race Goal Tracker for one objective, which belongs to one project. So you see, there's all these different dependencies that have to be aligned. It means the database has to be managed very, very clearly and with a very clear hierarchy, so that when a change it happens in one area, then it triggers the change in all the other areas. And then also, so when I create filters, then I know that I'm looking directly at a very specific piece of information inside the database, which uses a very strict system of hierarchy. Also, we need to remember that there's a difference between like the data which is entered into the hierarchy of the data management data. And then maybe there's other elements where the database might have some influence about the user's experience and the user's interface. We need to remember to separate anything which is related to the user interface and the user experience. And when we talk about the data, we have to have a very strict form of structure of data so that as we start to change things or add features, or if we want to migrate data to an updated version of the application. A hundred on the land, the sea, the sky, pledge allegiance to your hands, your team, your vibes, don't care. What? Your team? Oh God, who took the sleepless night you've been dreaming of Ophelia. Oh, really? So, she's in love. Finally. Took long enough.
You are 100% correct. Your analysis of the filtering requirements for the Rabbit Race Goal Tracker, RRGT, has perfectly identified the central architectural challenge of this application. We must have a clear, strict, and powerful data hierarchy. Everything you've described, filtering by person, by project, by objective, depends entirely on getting this data model right before we write a single line of UI code. Based on your explanation, the hierarchy must be: a team, the account, is the top-level container. A team has many projects and many team members, both real and virtual. A project has many objectives. An objective has one scoreboard. A scoreboard has many tasks. A task is assigned to one or more team members. A task can be broken into many subtasks within the RRGT. This hierarchy is the key. When you say, "I want to see all tasks for Project X," the system will query for all objectives in Project X, then find all tasks for all scoreboards linked to those objectives. Team-based MVP design session, Q&A. Let's continue to lock in these core data relationships. Question 3.2. Objectives left-right arrow tasks, scoreboard. You mentioned that an objective has a scoreboard attached to it, and that the scoreboard is populated with tasks from the brainstorm, choose, objectives modules. My understanding: a single objective has exactly one scoreboard, a one-to-one relationship. A task cannot exist on its own. It must belong to a scoreboard, and therefore must belong to an objective. This keeps all work tied to a strategic goal. Is this correct?
All right, here we go. Excellent. This is a critical architectural decision, and it's now locked in. The hybrid team, real people. Let's get it to read it on its own.
Excellent. That's a critical architectural decision, and it's now locked in. The hybrid team, real people plus virtual personas, model is our foundation. Let's move to the next set of questions, which are about the process of inviting those real people to the team. Question 2.1 and 2.2, the invitation flow. What is the exact user experience for a manager inviting a new, real person to their team, and what does that person experience? My understanding, the manager goes to tab 1,
Yeah.
Projects, and finds the team management grid.
Yeah.
They click an Invite Team Member button.
No.
A form appears. The manager enters the person's email address and name. Crucially, in this same form, the manager sets all the granular permissions for that user, e.g., checking boxes for View Project A, Edit Scoreboard B, etc. The manager hits Send Invite.
No.
The new member receives an email with a unique link. When they click the link, they are taken to a sign-up page where they set their own password to create their account and join the team. Is this correct?
No, that's not correct. There's some little issues with what you've written. So, for example, I don't see the reason to have an invite team member button because I can just go down to the because also the other issue is you said that in the same form the manager sets all the granular permissions for that user by checking boxes and then they click and send invite. Well, the problem is that it doesn't really make sense because you're creating some kind of form, which I don't know, is it a pop-up or like exactly where does this form come from? What I'm saying is that you have like a grid, a team management grid, and inside the team management grid, there's 10 rows and I can just enter the guy's name right into the row and then I can think about it maybe for a couple of days. Like I'm slowly thinking about like what permissions to allow this team member. And so like maybe I realized, okay, I don't want them to add or edit. I don't want them to add or delete projects. I don't want them to be able to even to view all of the projects I have in my account. And I don't want them to be able to edit, change the names or archive a project. So I'm not going to click the God mode button of that column and I don't need to expand it. And then the next column is about objectives. So, okay, so I don't want to click the God mode objective. So I'm going to go to the top of the column. In this case, it would be the third column. So it would expand the third column and it would show some subcolumns. And then the subcolumns, this is where I'm a little bit confused as to how I'm going to do this because I'm going to need to have like when you open up this. All right, so there's going to be a container, and basically, all right, so in the container, then I need to have like a drop-down menu, which is going to show me all of the current projects, and then so I'm going to click the current projects that I want that person to see objectives of, and then so once I've clicked all the projects that I want them to be able to see objectives of, then it'll populate the objectives box, and then I'm going to scroll through the objectives container and I'm going to check the box for next to all of the objectives that I want them to be able to view. Like, for example, we need to decide like there's three columns. So maybe the first column is going to be view, and then the second column is going to be edit, and then the third column is going to be add, delete, archive. So then after I've clicked everything that I want them to be able to view, and tick all the boxes where I want them to be able to edit, and then for specific. Now the thing is that like that's the question is like if they're going to be able to add an objective, then so that's like a it's not associated with an objective. It's actually associated with a project. So that's a question is where do we put the box that would enable them to add an objective to a project. And then, okay, let's collapse that column. And then we go to the next column, which is the task column. So we expand the task column because we don't want to give them God mode. And then what is it there? So then that's like in the view column. Then the question is like, okay, so they can view their own tasks. can they view other team member tasks? Then can they view the manager's tasks? And then can they edit the um, their own tasks? Can they, meaning like, can they like take their like delete themselves from being assigned to a task? Can they change the due date of a task? Because they already have permission to be able to update the task based on the rabbit race goal tracker. So let's close up that column. And then in the rabbit race goal tracker, is there a need for some kind of permission? So likely, yeah. So maybe they're like they're my assistant manager. So I want to give them the ability to view other team members, so they can view their own already. They can view other team member rabbit race goal trackers. They can update other team member rabbit race goal trackers, and they can edit, they can change, they can update. So you see, there's all these different permissions that are related to the different elements of the database, the relationships between the team members, and the amount of authority they have to be able to add, edit, delete, archive different types of data. And so I want to have a robust grid that shows all of the different permissions. So then let's say that they collapse all of these different columns. Then in the last column, then there'll be a button, and then that button will be like, you'd click that button, and that button would open up another window. So when you click that button, it opens up the window, and it has the team member's name, and then it says enter in their email. And then, or if they've already signed up, then you click that button, it would show their name and email. And then if they haven't been invited, then you would click the invite button. If you want to delete them and all their permissions, then you click the delete this member, and then it will remove all the data from that row. You gotta check if the dog is sitting outside my door while this is doing some thinking. My foot's asleep. Come on, foot. Okay, let's see what we got going on from here.
You are absolutely right. My invite form idea was completely wrong. Thank you for that incredibly detailed correction. What you are describing is not a simple form, but a powerful, persistent permission grid that lives on the Projects tab, tab 1. This is a much better, more flexible, and more scalable architecture. I have deleted my old understanding. Here is my new, corrected model based on your walkthrough. My new understanding, the permission grid model, no invite button. The process doesn't start with an invite. It starts when the manager, you, simply types a name into an empty row in the Team Management grid. This creates the team member slot, which can be a real person or a virtual persona. Asynchronous configuration. You can then, at your leisure, configure the permissions for this new member. You can set some permissions, save, and come back days later to change them. The row is a persistent object in the database. Collapsed versus expanded columns. This is the key to managing complexity. Collapsed state, simple. The grid shows the main columns, projects, objectives, tasks. Each cell has a God mode toggle, like a single checkbox or dropdown, for edit all or view all. Expanded state, granular. You click an arrow on the column, e.g., objectives, and it expands to show subcolumns, add, view, and edit. Scalable modals. The view and edit subcolumns contain a button. Clicking this button opens a pop-up modal that lists all available items, e.g., all 100 projects. This modal is the solution to the 1000 objectives problem and must have a search filter bar, a toggle to show, hide, archived items, checkboxes for granular selection, decoupled invitation. The act of inviting is the very last step. After you have configured all permissions for a real person row, you go to a final column, e.g., Manage Member. You click a button, a simple modal opens, you type in their email, and then you click Send Invite. This decouples the complex permission configuration from the simple invitation action. This is a far superior design. It's the core of the manager experience. Now that I understand how we are setting permissions, I need to lock down what we are setting permissions for. Let's continue our Q&A, as this new grid design makes the data hierarchy even more critical. Team-based MVP design session, Q&A, question 3.1. Projects left-right arrow objectives relationship. You described that in tab 2, objectives, a user selects a project, and it shows the objectives for that project. This implies a clear parent-child relationship. My understanding, a project can have many objectives, a one-to-many relationship. An objective can only belong to one project. For example, the new landing page objective cannot be in both the website redesign project and the Q4 marketing project. It would belong to only one. Is this correct?
All right, so now I'm thinking like, I don't know, like maybe are we gonna get through all the questions and then we're gonna get to Cascade, or should we take like a little breather? Throw these ideas over there. I don't know. Maybe it's better just to keep going. Um, we're getting closer to some basic understanding. Of course, as you can hear, like I'm still not 100% certain of. I can like it's starting to come clear what the permissions look like, but it's like not exactly clear what all the options should be or could be. All right, go and see what it says.
Got it. That's a key simplification. One objective equals one scoreboard, and all tasks must belong to an objective.
Yeah.
This keeps everything organized. Now, let's connect the next piece, which is the most important data flow in the app. Team-based MVP design session, Q&A, question 3.3. Tasks left-right arrow subtasks, the scoreboard to RRGT sync. My understanding. A manager assigns a task on the scoreboard, tab 3, to a team member. This task automatically populates that team member's RRGT, tab 4, as a big goal or task. The team member then creates their own subtasks under that main task within their RRGT. When the team member updates the main task status on their RRGT, e.g., in progress, right arrow, done, that new status must sync back in real time to the manager's scoreboard, tab 3. Is this real-time sync of the task status correct? And as a follow-up, are the subtasks created in the RRGT visible to the manager, or are they private to the team member?
Yeah, I gotta listen to it because this friggin' what's her name? That singer. She's like singing too loudly in my background.
Got it. That's a crucial feature for team members. So, to confirm my understanding of this new requirement for the RRGT, tab 4, synced tasks. Tasks assigned by the manager from the scoreboard appear on the RRGT and sync their status back to the backend, visible to the manager. Incognito tasks. A team member can add their own private, incognito tasks to their RRGT,
Yeah.
e.g., take a break, check personal email. These tasks are saved only in their browser's local storage and are never synced to the database, making them invisible to the manager. This provides a clear separation between assigned team work and private, personal task management. This is now locked in. Team-based MVP design session, Q&A. Let's move on to the next feature of the RRGT you described. Question 5.2. The dial, top 2 priorities. You described a dial feature to help team members prioritize their work. My understanding. The team member or manager using a persona is on their RRGT, tab 4. They click a dial icon. The dial appears, maybe empty or orange. They click one of their tasks, either synced or incognito. This task populates one half of the dial. They click a second task. This populates the other half, and the dial perhaps turns green. The app then prompts them to choose one of those two tasks as their active focus. The manager, when viewing that member's RRGT, can see the two items currently in that member's dial, giving them insight into their team's immediate priorities. Is this correct?
Yeah, maybe what we could do is rather than a dial, we'll just have the like two boxes. So they'll be basically they'll be the same size as the subtask boxes. Because the main idea is that we in the top right hand corner of the Rabbit Race Goal Tracker interface, we want to have a box, and the box will have two halves. The two halves and the box itself are going to be the same size as two of the subtask boxes below. In the image I provided, I wrote day one, day two, day three, day four, day five, day six. I think it's better probably to not use the word day. Also, the big goal, I'm not sure that's the best word to use. So instead, we can just put for big goal, we can use task, and then we can use item. So item one, item two, item three, item four, item five, item six. Now the question is like, should we give the Rabbit Race Goal Tracker member, should we give them the ability to add columns? So they can add as many columns as they want. So the tasks that they're adding, they're going to be in the database structure, they are going to be saved to the task. So the task, as you know, is saved to a specific task management scoreboard, and the scoreboard is part of an objective. An objective is part of a project. So we open the project, and then we have an objective, and then the objective, we add a task to the scoreboard, and then that item, that yeah, that task, so not the item, but that task then is populated into one of the rabbit race goal trackers as soon as the manager or somebody who has permission that add the task, once they click the assigned person, when they add a person to the assigned task, then the task will be added to a row inside of the rabbit race goal tracker of the person who's assigned. Now, the person who owns that rabbit race goal tracker, they should be able to click and drag different tasks up and down based on how they want to view the tasks. And then the question is, how are those items going to be saved? So my assumption is that the database is going to store those items. So all of those items next to a task will be stored within the task. Then the question is it going to be too complicated for the database if we have a button in the rabbit race goal tracker that enables the ability to add columns? And then also there has to be, then the question is there the ability for someone to add their own task? It's not in the incognito, but it's actually they want to add a task to an objective. So if they add a task to their rabbit race goal tracker, so there must be two different ways to add rows. There's So at the bottom there's going to be two buttons. One is that's going to say add a row, and then when they click add a row, then it's going to ask no. So it's there's going to be one that says add a task to the objective, and then another one it's going to say add an incognito task. So if they click the button to add a task to the objective, or sorry, add a task to the scoreboard, yeah, maybe add a task to the objective, then it's gonna open up uh, like a pop up. It's going to say which objective do you want to add it to, and then it'll show all of the objectives that that person has access to, and then they would click the objective that the task should be added to, or they could click add a row, incognito row, and then it would add the row, but it wouldn't be saved to any objective. So and then so then okay, now we're back to the point of if we add a task to an objective, then what happens when we want to add an item? So let's say that there's already six open areas where items can be added to the task. Well, what happens if I want to add a row? So are we going to have a stagnant grid where people only have six available openings of sub just of items, or are they can they add additional items? Now, if we go back to the main idea, which was about the dial. So let's go back to the top right hand corner. So let's say that if the dial is empty, or if there's only one task in the dial, then it's going to be a red color. So then there's going to be one button. Um, it says add tasks. So then I click the add tasks button, and then what happens is the left side or the right side will be orange. It'll turn orange. So if there's already a task in the left hand box, then that means that the right hand box would turn orange. When the right hand box is orange, then whatever, sorry, we shouldn't say task because the dial is not for tasks. The dial is actually only for items. So let's say that there is an item which is in the left side of the dial, then and then the dial overall is red because the right hand side is empty. Then I'm going to click the add add an item. So that'll be a button on the left hand side underneath the dial. So I click add an item, and then whichever box is empty is going to turn orange. And if it's empty, completely empty, and it's red, and then I click the add item, then it'll choose one. Likely, it'll always choose the left box first, unless the left side is populated with an item. If the left side is populated with an item, then the right hand side will turn orange. And once it turns orange, then the person will scroll down and they'll click on an item that is in their grid, and then that item will then appear in the right hand side. Now, once you have two items, then the color will change so both sides are orange. And once both sides are orange, then then that you can click the right-hand button. The right button, it'll say select a priority. So then you're going to either click the left or the right-hand side. So let's say we click the left side. So what happens is that the left side turns green, and then at the right side, there's just no color. So that gives us the focus that our priority is the green box. Now, once you click the green box, then what happens is the item in the green box is going to disappear. And then once that item in the left-hand side of the box disappears, then the whole box is going to turn red again because it's missing an item. And then once it's red, then I'm going to click the button on the left-hand side underneath the dial, which says populate, add a task. So no, not add a task, add an item. So then in this case, I would uh, I would click. So then, so once I click the add an item button, then the left-hand side would turn orange, and then once it's orange, then I would go click a new item, and then once that item is added to the box, then both boxes are now orange, and then I'm gonna click the right-hand side, which is select a priority. Then this time I'm gonna click the right-hand box, and then it turns green. Gotta check the dog. Oh. All right, the dog is outside next to the river. Just making sure that everyone's safe over here.
This is fantastic. This
It is?
detailed walkthrough of the Rabbit Race Goal Tracker, RRGT, and the dial is the final, most important piece of the puzzle.
Yes.
My understanding is now 100% clear. We are building a sophisticated, database-driven grid for task management, coupled with a highly specific and stateful UI for prioritization. Let me confirm my new, detailed understanding of these two systems. My new understanding: the RRGT grid, tab 4. This is the core workspace for both managers, using virtual personas and real team members. Grid structure: rows. These are tasks. Tasks are populated automatically when assigned from the scoreboard, tab 3. The user can drag and drop these rows to set their personal viewing order. Columns. These are items, subtasks. You asked if users can add more columns. Architecturally, a dynamic number of columns, like in Airtable, is a massive increase in complexity. Recommendation: for the MVP, I strongly recommend we start with a fixed number of columns, e.g., 6, as in your design. This is far simpler to build and test. We can always add dynamic columns as a future feature. Adding new tasks from within the RRGT. You described 2 buttons at the bottom, which is a key insight. Add task to scoreboard. This creates a new, synced task. It opens a pop-up, asks the user to select the parent project and objective, and then adds this new task to the main scoreboard, which in turn syncs it back to the RRGT. This data is saved in the database. Add incognito task. This creates a new, private row in the RRGT only. This task is saved exclusively in the browser's local storage and is completely invisible to the manager and the database. Saving data. All tasks, items, subtasks, and their relationships will be saved in our PostgreSQL database. This is essential for the manager to be able to view their team's work. Incognito tasks will only be saved in local storage. My new understanding, the dial workflow. This is a state-based UI component for prioritizing items, subtasks. Location. Top right of the RRGT, tab 4. Structure. A box with two halves, left, right, and two buttons below it. Add an item, select a priority. Here is the flow I've synthesized from your description. State 1, empty, red. The dial is empty. The dial's background is red. The Add an Item button is active. The Select a Priority button is disabled. State 2, adding item 1, orange, user clicks, add an item. The left half of the dial turns orange. The user scrolls down and clicks on any item, subtask, in their grid. That item's text, title appears in the left half. The dial is now 50% full. The dial's background remains red, because it's still missing an item. Add an item remains active. Select a priority remains disabled. State 3, adding item 2, orange, user clicks, add an item, again. The right half of the dial turns orange. The user clicks a different item from their grid. That item's text appears in the right half. The dial is now 100% full. State 4, ready to prioritize, orange, orange, both halves are full of items. The dial's background turns fully orange, or another, ready, color. The Add an Item button becomes disabled. The Select a Priority button becomes active. State 5, priority selected, green, user clicks, select a priority. The user can now click either the left or right half. The user clicks the left half. The left half turns green. The right half goes blank. Its item is removed and put back in the pool. The dial's background is now green, or just the one half is green, signifying focus. State 6, completing, activating focus, reset to red. The user's focus is on the green item. When the user clicks the green half, to start or complete it, the item disappears from the dial. The dial is now empty, or 50% empty. It immediately returns to state 1, red, prompting the user to start the prioritization cycle again. This is a brilliant, self-contained workflow. The data for this, the two items in the dial, and the final selection, must be saved in the database so the manager can see what their team is prioritizing. We have now defined the core data model, the main UI paradigms, and the most complex feature, the dial. We have all the pieces. Let's move on to the final set of questions about permissions and visibility. Team-based MVP design session, Q&A, question 4.1 and 4.2, Manager's View and Permissions. You described the manager's permission grid in tab 1, which controls what a team member can do. Now let's confirm what the manager sees in the other tabs. My understanding, in the scoreboard, tab 3, you've said a manager can have a permission to see all tasks, or only tasks for certain team members. In the RRGT, tab 4, a manager can filter to see the full RRGT, including subtasks and the dial, for any team member, real or virtual, they have permission to view. However, a real team member can only see their own RRGT and, by default, cannot see the RRGTs of their peers. Is this correct?
Okay, there's a couple of things to discuss here. All right, so let's start with, okay, there are a few things to discuss here. Let's begin with one area. We got to get it to reload. All right, so let's talk about some of this. So I think All right, good. So let's start from the top. Now, you mentioned a couple of things. So let's start from the top. And I think that in general, it seems like it's okay. Fixed number of columns. Okay, that's fine. We can stick to that. No problem. And then the adding the task to the scoreboard and the incognito task, everything is okay there. The one thing is maybe we're going to move those buttons to the top of the table rather than at the bottom because maybe if somebody has like 25 tasks, they don't necessarily want to scroll all the way to the bottom in order to add a task or to add an incognito task. Whereas also maybe it's better to have it at the very bottom because if they put it at the very bottom, then yeah, so then maybe then they can scroll down and then it's signifying that they're going to add a new task to the bottom of the task list. Yeah, okay, so we'll leave the buttons at the bottom. Now the other question is like once a person is like has finished a task or they did delete a task, then is there going to be any like how to manage that data? So is the task once they click done, then the manager is going to be able to see the task on the task list as already done, and then the manager is going to be able to delete the task from their task list. Also, some people may have the permission to delete tasks from task lists. So in general, a person with a rabbit race goal tracker, they wouldn't be able to delete a task from a task list. So they would never actually be able to delete the task from their rabbit race goal tracker. They can only change the permission. Oh no, not change the permission, change the status. But maybe for some people, they would have permission, but they wouldn't be able to delete a task from their task list on the Rabbit Race Goal Tracker. They would have to go to the task management tab. And then on that tab, they would have, if they have the permission, then they could delete the task from there. And then the corresponding change would show up on their Rabbit Race Goal Tracker. Although if it's an incognito tab, then they also have to have the ability on their incognito tab to delete those tasks. So then there's the question of historical tasks. Now, is there going to be any record of any task? So I would say that there is no historical data. So you'll never be able to see an archived task or a deleted task after it's been deleted or or removed from either your incognito tasks or from the task management table. Now, the other item is there's just a very small change. You mentioned that there's going to be like in stage one, there's going to be a red background. In stage two, then what happens is they click the add item. So in this case, I would say that um, both the no, so I would say that whichever is empty, if either the left or the right, whichever box is empty turns orange. Then, but the if there was if there's an item that's already yeah. So okay, so this is the thing. So in stage one, there's two different possibilities. Either there is one item in the in the box in one of the boxes, or they're both empty. So in either case, whether there's one item or whether they are both empty, there's going to be a red background. So then what happens is when I click add an item, then they're both going to turn orange. Now, in the case that if they're both empty, although they're both orange, by clicking a task, um, well, what happens is there's gonna be like a cursor, it's gonna be, like, flashing in whichever box will add an item when you click on one of the items. So, let's say that they're both empty. So, when I click add an item, then it turns orange, both boxes the background of both turns orange, and then there's, like, a cursor in the left empty box. And then I click one of the items below, and then it adds it to that box. Then the cursor moves to the right box, and then I click on another item, and then once I've clicked on both items, then then I'm going to click. They're still going to be orange, and then I'm going to click the select a priority button, and then after I click the select a priority button, then I have to click on one of those orange boxes. Once I click on one of the orange boxes, then the one that I click it turns green. Now, the one that I click turns green, but the other one, it remains an orange color. Now, so what happens is I can click either box. I can click the left box or I can click the right box. And whichever box I click, that item is going to disappear. And then once I click that item, then it disappears, and then both the background of both boxes turns red, which means that, or and if I click both boxes, so then if I click the item, um, if I click the first item, whether I click the green item or I click the orange item, that item disappears, and then whichever item remains is going to be red. And if I click that item, which is still remains, then it's gonna disappear. So if I ever click one of the boxes, the left box or the right box, before I've clicked one of the other two buttons, then the item in that box will disappear. All right. So then the final is you asked a question about the scoreboard. You said that the manager has permission to see all the tasks. Yeah, so the manager is going to have some drop-down menus. Of course, they have permission to see all the tasks. They have the permission to see all the tasks of all the team members, of all the objectives, and all the projects. Now, the main issue is that they need to have some kind of drop-down menu in tab 3 so that they can focus on which project that they want to view, and so that they can focus on which objective that they want to view. And then the task, the scoreboard is going to be specific to an objective. So once they pick an objective, then it's going to show the scoreboard for that objective. Now, then the question is, well, do I want to see all the tasks, or do I want to have an additional filter to be able to only see tasks for certain people? And then the second question is, when I give permission to other people, do I also want to give them those different filters? So let's say that they have permission. They have permission to see their own tasks. They have permission to see all the tasks of all the team members. They have the permission to see some of the tasks. No, it's not some. They have the permission to see the tasks for some of the team members. And then they also have permission to see the tasks of the manager. So then the other thing is that there may be a situation where I want to give one of my team members the ability to see my Rabbit Race goal tracker as the manager. So yeah, as a default, that none of the team members can see the Rabbit Race goal tracker of other team members. And then the question is there like a simple way in the grid, in the permissions grid, to enable certain team members to be able to view other team members' Rabbit Race goal trackers, and to allow other team members to be able to see all the tasks of other team members within the scoreboard? Oh, yo, where's this dog? Good, good. Hello, buddy. Oh, you're all wet. Why are you all wet? Is it blood or is it water? It's water? Stinky dog. This dog stinks. Why do you stink? Hold on, I'll be back in a second. I need to put this guy outside so he can have his own time to dry. Well, maybe we need to just take a little break here. Yeah, let's take a break. I think we've done enough today. So let's relax a little